David, welcome to the Tavern, Talks in the Tavern. What do you think?
I love it. It's great.
Yes?
Yeah,
It's a bit different.
It's the sort of place I could go to quite regularly.
It's a little bit different to me. You stood in the field,
Yes.
wind blowing,
Absolutely.
camera held up.
Indeed. You've progressed.
I have progressed. But thank you for coming to the Tavern.
It's okay.
You're very, very welcome.
Thank you.
Tell me, one other question for your memories. I know you've lived in Builth. You've lived in Builth all your life, yes? Mm-hmm. Do you have any particular memories of growing up in Builth? What was...
Memories of Builth. I think it's just the way the community comes together. There's always great things that happen, whether it's, carnival, things that are happening here in the Strand Hall. Somehow we manage to just get people together and have a good time, and that's probably one of the best things. Memories, things like the school I Steddfod. When you're growing up, that was always great fun. I enjoyed that, being here.
That was here, right in the Strand Hall, wasn't it?
In this very, very place.
Yeah.
And lots of things that happened on, in this building. We used to have fancy dress Christmas party things here when I was very little. I remember us coming here dressed as the Diddy Men. Half people wouldn't even know who the Ken Dodd and the Diddy Men are. But it was just, it was a great place to grow up. A really good community, a sense of people coming together. And, obviously we live in the countryside, and I was very lucky to grow up with a gang of mates who lived on neighbouring farms. And we didn't have to go far to have fun. Yeah. Whether it was climbing trees, fishing, making dens up in the wood. There was this cross-section of girls and boys, all about 4 or 5 years between us, probably tops. And, we just made our own fun. It was simple fun.
Well, I suppose that would lead me into where I'm going with this, is really the memories that you described. At that time as well, you would have been starting your journey with the YFC, is that right?
Probably.
Yeah. Builth YFC, yeah.
In our day, compared to what it is now, when there are so many clubs, which is brilliant. Youngsters have sports facilities and so many things, which are fantastic. There really was only young farmers. There was youth club, but that was more for the, obviously, town children. But young farmers was a huge part of our growing up. And it was great fun. We got involved. You learned from it without realizing you were learning. And you made good friends. As
it is today, but we'll come to that in a minute. But you touched on that when you were just giving an introduction of your memories of the Eisteddfod and performing. And how did that come about with the YFC with you? Do you remember your first time on stage, David, with the YFC?
I do. Some disasters.
Do tell.
I'll take a step back. And I remember the first moment that I thought theatre was amazing. Okay. And it was actually in this building. In Theatre Powys, when I was young, toured with some really good shows. And I must have been about 10. And they did Emily Williams' Night Must Fall. And in it, there's somebody who's accused of murder. There's a severed head in a hat box. And I was mesmerised. It was a stunning production, fair play to Theatre Powys. And I can remember, and I can picture, it was here on the floor of this place, and I can picture every element of that set and everybody in it. And I don't know why this has popped into my head, but 40 years after that, a couple pulled in on our caravan site, and I recognised this chap, and I thought, I know you. And it took me 3 or 4 days to pluck up the courage, and I went to him and I said, did you used to be in Theatre Powys? Weren't you in Night Must Fall? And he was the accused murderer. Yeah. And he was blown away the fact that I could remember him. But it was him.
It was him, yeah.
It was him. And I explained that, it got me hooked. I just was totally absorbed into that performance that he gave.
So that's what sparked.
Absolutely, I can remember it.
And then from that, having your first performance with the YFC was.
I'd done other things in school. I can even remember the last year of primary school doing some crazy little production with a couple of mates I can think of, and I just remember I made people laugh. Yeah.
That's a wonderful feeling.
It
isn't
is,
it?
if it's supposed to happen. But I did, and in Young Farmers, again, we were lucky that there were people who gave, and that's the wonderful thing about that organisation. It's volunteers. As a young member, it was Mr. Nicholas, Mr. Nick as we called him. Yeah. He was our RI teacher in school, and he was wonderful. He directed a piece of drama for us, and we had tremendous fun. We were never that good. Yeah. But it didn't really matter. Yeah. I think we did win the junior drama once with him. Yeah. But it was all a learning thing, and it was just great fun.
So there was in that time then the transition, because you always still perform, but in that time there's a transition into being directing and producing for plays and stuff. Do you remember when that happened?
Yeah, probably by accident in many ways.
These things normally do, yeah.
Again, I do recall we had, because Wyside had opened, and there was an artistic director moved into the area running the place, and we went to him and asked him would he write a play for us, and he was so excited, and he wrote this play, and then he presented it to us, and we all went, this is awful. But we didn't have the heart to say, we can't do this, so we did it. Yeah. And anyway, we were in the Guildhall competing then in Brecon, which I have great memories for again. Yeah. And it was awful. And I can remember all there was on stage were 2 doors, and he took half an hour to get those in place, by which time the audience was doing a slow hand clap. And by the time we opened the curtain and they saw 2 doors, they were just sort of, is this all we've waited for? And then the performance started and it went downhill further. We were last. Oh, right. Quite rightly so. But you learn more from the disasters. Yeah. And coming back to your point about the writing, and then I think that made me think, well, I couldn't do any worse.
So that's what took you up with.
I've written some awful stuff in the beginning, and you learn, and you have to listen to the critics, and that's how you learn. YFC.
Well, I suppose that leads nicely into the success you've had. You've touched on the history and remembering of winning. People who are familiar with YFC, there's a massive competition, David, as it goes from to local county, to national, Wales, to national. Indeed. And you've had huge success in that, David. What's that, and without let you talk about it, but what's that been like? Because I know you have had success. What was...
I mean, it's great. The thing is we've been blessed with incredible talent, as there is in many young farmers up and down the country. But we had a period where there was incredible talent there, and so for somebody to write for people who can act to that level, that's a gift. Yeah. And we have drama, we have pantomime, we have entertainment, and we've got a rich history of doing not too badly at it. Yeah. But they're great memories. We were lucky in the 3 years that we did get to national at Wales YFC. Those 3 years, they had a deal with S4C where they were filming it. So, those 3 productions, we've got the most amazing videos of them because they were to a spec where the tech was, everybody had the mics and the whole lighting, everything was great. Multi-camera, a bit like today, really. We've got that in the bank that we can remember. But the getting to national is an amazing thing, and for any club that has the good fortune to get there, savour every minute. It doesn't matter whether you win or whatever you come. If you've made it to national,
as you touched on,
it's amazing.
As you say, the community, when you were talking of memories, that was very much in Builth. And as it also pointed out, with YFC, that picks up when they make the move from winning Wales or the local one to Wales, so everybody goes with them, and that in itself, we've often talked about the process of it all. That's so important as well, David, isn't it?
Totally. Yeah, you go en masse.
You go en masse and you enjoy.
People comment, is anybody left in Builth? And that's great. Yeah. It doesn't matter any other county, any other club within the county. It's all about people getting behind, supporting, and giving them the encouragement they need. And we're very lucky in YFC because we have that. Yeah. You mentioned about my adjudicating, and I find myself in festivals.
Well, I suppose that brings on that's the next where I'm going, really, the adjudicating. That's from direct.
But just to conclude, I will go to festivals, and I've seen 15 children on stage and 12 people in the audience. Yeah. In YFC, you know, we will pack out a hall. We will always support, and that's wonderful for those youngsters who are performing. If they've got that backing and support, it's great.
Now, I know that you've done blogs with me with Jungle Productions. You touched on the adjudication there. How did that happen, David? What is that? Was it like a natural progression? You saw it come in, or?
I was approached when we'd won was Seven for a Secret, that piece of drama. One of the adjudicators, he came to me, a GODA member, that's the Guild of Drama Adjudicators, and he said, "You need to apply." And I thought, well, I'll have a little look. It's quite a process. There's an awful lot of training, exams, interviews, all sorts of bits and pieces. But anyway, I was lucky enough to become a member, and I travel all over the place.
I know you've been to Scotland. I know you
went to Orkneys earlier this year. Off to
Radio Orkney. You were on as well.
Much the same as today.
Thank you, David.
We're off to Aberdeen.
All right, so you're back in that circuit again.
Year. Yeah, it's great. I go all over the place. Very little of it is young farmers. It's other organisations. There's in each of the home nations they have like.
Well, of course, this year just gone now. We just had in Llanfair-ym-Muallt, Wales, in the Albert Hall. The Welsh finals were there.
Yeah, organised by the Drama Association of Wales.
Yeah, and you were adjudicated there.
I was. Yeah.
Yeah, so there's something I got to touch on, because I know I'm involved with it as well.
I never serve for tea.
Yeah, I have a cup of tea. And from all this, with the YFC, where you have members that probably progress and become leaders and stuff, but there's always that thing of, we want to do something else. And you know where I'm going with this, old stages.
Yeah.
Have I summed up old stages? It's a bit more than that, but how was it born, David? How did old stages come about?
Well, it came about. Elaine and I, we sadly lost our son to cancer when he was very young.
Yeah.
And it was very shortly after YFC, our club, was having its 50th anniversary.
Yeah.
And they came to me and said, "Will you write something for us?" And I said, "Yeah, we'll do a panto. We'll bring in all the, former members, no matter what age and ability and all the rest of it, and on the understanding that we raise money for cancer charities."
Yeah.
It was 10 of us at the time. We supported a number of cancer charities, and it brought 50 or 60 people, I should imagine, together, and it was great, great fun. As you and I have talked about before, it's not just the performance; it's the process.
Oh, and because I am part of the old stages, and it's such fun in the rehearsals, David, isn't it?
More fun than it probably ought to be, but that's not a bad thing.
Which we are a nightmare for yourself when you're directing.
I've gone past caring now.
Yeah.
But no, it is about that. Out of great sadness can come joy.
Yes.
There are friends that I've made through that
Absolutely.
process, and great memories had, and
always a lot of them in you. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
it's funny how it always comes back
in
to
the tavern
to this whole place. But we did a number of pantomimes and then gave it a break for a while. We did Strictly Come Dancing,
yes,
which clearly you were the
I remember it well.
Of the day.
Yes.
And other bits and pieces, and then last year Joseph, which was tremendous.
It was a lot of fun. And again, you pack it out, David. It's packed out.
Yeah,
and a lot of money.
Support.
And it comes back to where we started this conversation. It just shows what a wonderful community we live in.
Totally.
When we do something in Builth and the surrounding areas, like a lot of areas around Wales and stuff like that, but it's so particular because we live here and we're passionate about it. People come and support it.
Yeah. We've had people, friends, family, who've come from miles to see them and support, and some crazy enough to buy more than one ticket and come a second night. But it's great because it can be disheartening if you're performing and there isn't an audience there. But when you've got that coming back to you, as you know what it's like. That sound,
you do something on that
love
stuff.
and warmth that comes back from your audience if you're doing it right and it's working.
And for your fellow actors as well on stage when they have that laugh as well. They've worked hard for the reward they see in their face. It must make it worthwhile for yourself as a director as well.
But behind all of that, it's about bringing a group of people together, and people who are going through all sorts of challenges.
Yes.
Very human stories that are happening behind the scenes, and it's all about just picking people up, bringing them in, and
that yourself.
having that togetherness, which, you know, and for some people it can just mean for a short while they can switch off from the daily worry.
They can have that escapism.
Totally.
And they're with friends that can talk to them about what's going on. Well, David, thank you very, very much.
Pleasure.
Well, how was the tavern for you?
The pint wasn't so good, but you know, it's early days. We'll see how the landlord gets on.
Well, thank you very much for coming today and being involved with this new venture that we're on with it.
Good luck with it.
I'd like to wish you a very, very happy Christmas.
Thank you,
Jungle. And a happy New Year.
Thank you.
And would you come back to do a follow-up?
Who knows? Who knows?
Thank you, David. Yes, thank you very much.
Pleasure.